Buenas noches, buenos días en Europa, buenas noches donde yo estoy. Y pues nada, hoy vamos a hablar en estas charlas mías, que ya sabéis que no son cortas. Vamos a hablar con otra leyenda, ¿sí? Otra leyenda, Scott Crawford. Vamos a hablar con Scott Crawford. So, as I was saying in Spanish, good night, good morning in Europe, and well, this time we're gonna talk with a living legend, Scott Crawford. So, it's gonna be my first one in English. Sorry if I fuck it up a little bit, but I'm gonna try to keep it simple, and also I'm gonna try to just to make the questions that I think everybody wants to know about him. And well, in order to know a little bit who I'm gonna talk with for this new generation, I'm gonna talk with a guy who was pro in our first generation. Also with one guy that could make something as simple as air to fakie, make it look so nice and beautiful. So let's see if he's around already. And if he is, I'm gonna start to talk to him. Yeah, Scott here. Let's see if he accepts my invitation. Yay!
Hey!
Whoa!
Hey! How you going, mate?
Man, what's up? How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfect. The connection, it's a little bit blurry, though. But, yeah.
Oh, it keeps dropping out.
Let's
That's a
see.
good... Oh, I can... It keeps cutting out.
Yeah, let's see if maybe it's the Wi-Fi here or... I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you...
It seems to be all right now.
I can hear you good anyway, so...
Okay,
it's
great.
okay. It's okay, I guess. So, yeah, Scott, how are you? What time is it
I'm
there?
good. I'm good. It's been a long time. Too long.
Too long. How is your body feeling?
I'm actually feeling really good at the moment. I had pretty much all last year. I was injured for a whole year. But I'm good now. I'm good now. So, yeah, no, I'm all right. For my age, I guess, I'm doing all right.
All right. So, well, I don't know if you have seen any of the live chats that I'm doing. It's more like I'm not good doing interviews and all that, so it's not my my desire to get that position. I just want to talk a little bit with you, easy talk, and just get some good time and let the people know you a little bit better, So let's try to do that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So
I tried to listen to some of your other ones, but my Spanish is pretty much zero. So I got nothing.
Well, the with Cesar was really fun. And with Miguel was also really good and emotional and fun as well. So this one is going to be challenging for me because, my English is not probably as good as I wish, but I think it's going to be good enough to make you some questions and have some fun,
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we'll scrape by.
I want to start, when did you start skating and why?
When was I? It was 1990 when I started, the end of 1990, and it was my birthday. And my father, I actually saw a guy on skates that I'd never seen before, and I skied and snowboarded at the time. And I thought, oh, that looks exactly like skiing, like we don't have a big ice hockey scene or anything like that. So it wasn't roller hockey or anything like that for me. Me and a bunch of friends skied and like jumping off stuff. And we'd just started snowboarding a couple of years before that. And I thought I just saw a guy down the street going along in, probably early 1990. And I asked for them for my birthday. And my father said, you're going to use them for a week and you'll never use them again. And that was 30 years ago.
So. Yeah, you take some profits from those skates. By the way, what kind of skates were you skating back in the day?
My very first pair?
Yeah, your very first skate.
Were rollerblade blade runners. So,
oh, I'm sorry. That's
yeah, right.
my wall. We don't want to see that. Wow. So
they were rollerblade blade runners were a pair of skates that were the rollerblade 608 was out. I don't know if you know these skates or anyone knows these skates. They're pretty old. But they had the brake that was permanently on the back of them. You couldn't take the brake off.
3 wheels or 4?
Four wheels. But the brake was molded onto the back of the frame. Like the brake was actually part of the frame. So the first thing I did was get a saw and cut the back of the brake off. And the wheels were pretty much just chalk, you know, they were terrible. So we used them for about 2 weeks and then went and bought new wheels. And then, then started pretty much.
Wow. So at that point, you had any reference or no at all? Like for me, for example, it was really easy because when I started, you all guys were already skating really good, you know? So I had some reference to what to do and, you know, which tricks should I try and all that. What was your reference back in the day for you?
We didn't have any. Like for us, okay, so there's no internet, obviously, back then. There's very few magazines. There was a couple of Australian magazines, but there was no, like, you know, quote-unquote aggressive magazines or anything like that. There was no small wheels. It was all big wheels. And, I mean, we had AJ Jackson and we had some Team Rollerblade dance videos. And to be honest, we were watching that stuff going, oh, we actually skate better than those guys. Like, you know, but we didn't know about Chris Edwards then, you know, but all the other guys, we were like, oh, we skate better than those guys. And, which was pretty funny, you know, well, we're doing similar stuff, you know. And I actually got a magazine down to show you some of the stuff that they were doing in like 1991 of the guys I was skating with. So I've actually got it here somewhere. And I found it. This to me, this magazine right here, you know how everyone gets excited over Daily Bread issue #1? Well, I've got 2 of those copies, and this is more for me because this is Australian rollerblading history. This is more important to me. And my friend Tom Fry's house just burnt down, and we found this in the bottom of his. Yeah, we found this in the bottom of his house underneath the ash that was still fire on top of it. And this is like the first Australian skating magazine that came out. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, the connection for me it's a little bit blurry, as I say, but still I can read Inline Skater, right?
Yeah, and this
that's you? No,
this is 1991. So this is the guys that I'm looking at and skating at the time.
Okay, awesome.
So I'll show you a photo, and it's incredible. Like, so, now I can't find it. Here you go. This is Jess Darrenforth.
Oh.
So that's Jess Darrenforth in a full pipe. And Jess there and Chris Edwards.
Wow, Chris Edwards. Oh my God. Yeah.
Busting. But these were the Australian guys. I'll show you. There's Tom Fry's and all that in there, but I wasn't skating with Tom at the time. I was skating with guys from Sydney. And so there's John Pollard doing a, 5 foot, 6 foot air to fakie.
Oh, wow. They were already ripping
that's 1991.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they were the guys that I was skating with. And back then. So it's pretty incredible. They were amazing. They were so good. I can't tell you how good they were.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
In 91, I didn't know, but for sure, the Australian scene was crazy. Like, when I started rollerblading, probably the best, I would say, I don't know if the best skaters, but for sure, where it was more talent was there. Like, as you say, Tom Fry, Tim Ward, yourself, Cesar Mora, Matt Salerno, and I can keep going for a lot of names. So you had a crazy scene over there.
Yeah, it really was pretty deep. Like Australians have got like at the time, it wasn't like competition, skating, that kind of thing. It was just all about the scene, like about the people and about going skating and just getting as many people as you can. And Australians can get pretty competitive. I don't know. You skated against Sessa for a while. He's pretty competitive, dude. Manuel, all these guys. And we just push each other. But it wasn't competition in terms of like, I want to beat you. It's like, oh, well, look, for example, John Pollard, who is a very, very famous skater in Australia. We would go out riding rails and he'd do a rail and I'd be like, you know what? I can do a bigger one. And we'd find a bigger one. And then he'd go to the next one and he'd go and do a bigger one, until we were just bleeding, So
that's the attitude. That's the attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how it sort of started for us a long, long time ago. That's before your Cessas and before your Blake Dennis and all those, Matt Solano. That's before all that. And, yeah. So that's how it started.
Before that, man. So who
yeah.
The people that I know, like Manuel Villiers and all that, who was already on that scene?
Tom Fry.
Tom Fry was already there.
Yeah, Tom Fry, he was down in Melbourne. So I've got a photo of them. I got a photo of these guys. I thought you might ask some old questions, so I got this magazine. So here we go. So yeah, Tom Fry was down in Melbourne, and there's a team in Melbourne called Team Apache, and there was also a team in Sydney called the AAS, or the Aerial Assault Squad, and we all did shows for Coca-Cola. So there's the Melbourne guys.
Yeah.
Hard to see, but there's Tom Fry, Luke Lucas, 4 in a Row magazine.
Yeah, 4 in a row, yeah.
Jamie Driver. Yeah, Jamie Driver. Oh, man. So that's the Melbourne guys. And these are the Sydney guys.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
So there was... Yeah, so there was sort of 2 teams of guys, and then obviously each scene around that kind of based around it, and then there was just little crews of skaters everywhere. Like Bondi had an awesome one.
Well, how was just a regular day of skating for you back in the day, for you and your friends, like one day of skating?
Well, I lived quite a long way from Manly when I was growing up. Like Manly was sort of where everyone was skating, down in Manly. And I lived about maybe a 40-minute car drive away. And I was 14 or 15, so I'd catch a bus for about 20 minutes. And then I would skate maybe an hour. I'd skate an hour to get down to Manly. And then we would catch a ferry over into the city. Like go across our harbour, Sydney Harbour. And then we'd go into the city and we'd just skate all day, eat terrible fried food and then catch the bus and train back again, and we'd be out all day. So it was just an all-day mission. That was when we were really young. And then when we got cars, it would just be wake up, go for a surf. This is later on. Wake up, go for a surf, come back, get breakfast, go street skating, or the other way around, go for a vert skate, while the sun was still up. And then when the sun went down, then we'd go street skating in the city. So... yeah, it was all day, like all day.
Yeah, all day, yeah, all day mission, all day skating, the good old days. And when did you get your first sponsor, and who was it?
It was in 1991, and it was a local shop. So yeah, 1991, I got sponsored by a local shop, and very shortly after that, I was sponsored by Coca-Cola. So yeah. So from 91 to 93, I did shows for Coca-Cola, and I was sponsored by Rollerblade, like just flow, not getting paid, but sponsored by Rollerblade and Cosmo Wheels.
Wow, yeah, Cosmo Wheels.
Yeah,
that's amazing. So I don't know if you know a little bit of history about Cosmo, but it will be really interesting to to talk a little bit about Cosmo now that you name it. So, who was the owner? What was the idea of the Cosmo? Where the Cosmos are coming from, and all that? If you feel comfortable talking about it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I probably, it was so long ago, I'll try and remember it all. I mean, the owner was a guy called Tim Dorr, and he owned Aussie Skateboards, which was a skateboard brand. And then he owned Cockroach Wheels. He sold Aussie, and I think he sold Aussie. Again, I'm not 100% sure on this stuff, but he started up Cockroach, which was another skateboard company. And I think he sold that, and then he started making inline wheels with some guys from Sydney, and also Tom Fry were testing them. And he's just had so much experience with urethane, and he's just a genius with urethane. And he made these wheels. I don't know how to describe them. They were soft but hard. They'd last a long time. You could slide them, but they were grippy. It's kind of hard to describe them to people that haven't ridden them. But they were just fast. They were so fast.
So fast. Yeah, they are amazing. They are amazing.
Yeah, really fast.
Coming back to your life a little bit, when do you realize, like, I don't like to say I don't like to say this expression, like you can make a career, but when did you realize, like, hey, this is serious, like, you know, like this is gonna bring me somewhere? In which year and how?
Okay, so when I was still at school, I was like probably 2 years before your final year. You know, I was 15. You know, you leave when you're 17, 18. I started getting paid for doing skate shows. But it was just fun, you know, like I was a kid just having fun and making a little bit of money and stuff like that. And then this is a good story, actually, that, you know, at the end of your schooling career, when you're all sitting down in a circle and the teacher asks you, what do you want to do? You know, what do you want to do now when you finish school? And they're going around, and, you know, person next to me, I want to be a doctor, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And she got round to me and I said, I want to be a professional skater. And she said, yeah. And everyone else, she was saying, you know, you can do it. Go, you know, work really hard and you can become a doctor. And she turned to me and looked me straight in the face and said, you have to be realistic with your goals, Scott. That's not going to happen. So that was my careers teacher. And
wow.
Yeah, so to tell you the truth, the absolute truth, part of her saying that, I'm a pretty stubborn kind of person. And because she said that, that made me go, you know what? Stuff you. I'm gonna try, like, I'm gonna do everything that I can, the best that I can, and see what happens.
Yeah,
so if it works, yeah.
Did you talk to him or to her anymore?
No,
no,
like
not you didn't send him a picture like, "Hey, I made it." I
felt like it, but do you know what's really funny? Since then, the same school, the teacher's not there anymore, and no one knows about it. But the school has asked me to come back and do careers advice for the other kids. It's pretty funny.
Whoa, that's amazing. That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah,
that's really good. And when is the first time you went to USA? Like,
so straight after that lady, that teacher said, I want you got to be realistic with your goals. I got a job, started working, and when everyone else, you know, when you finish school and everyone goes on parties, I was like laser focused, just like skate, work, skate, and March the next year. So this is December. Our school finishes in November, December, and then March the next year, I bought a flight, bought a airline ticket to America, and flew to America with 3 other skaters to try and see what we could do.
What year was that, if you remember?
Yeah, it was the start of 94.
94, eh? 94.
Yeah.
Great. And so what happened on that travel? Did you finally make it to America? And did you arrive
so we had a ball. We ended up in you won't believe this. So do you know Dare to Wear, the movie Dare to Wear?
Yeah.
So the guy who made Dare to Wear, Sean Tomlin. He was doing skate shows, and he invited us to do skate shows. If we could get to America, we could do these skate shows. And so we flew ourselves over there, and we arrive in LA and then fly to St. Louis, Missouri, and do skate shows in Six Flags skate parks with Tony Hawk and Dennis McCoy and Rick Thorne.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a good start of your career. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was pretty wild. Pretty wild for sure. So
and how long have you been?
Sorry?
How long have you been?
In America for?
Yeah, in America on that year, on the 94.
Yeah, so we went there in spring break and did the skate shows, and then I flew back to Australia after about 2 or 3 weeks. And then I got a call up from the National Inline Skate Series from NIS, from Mark Shays.
Oh, Mark Shays.
Mark Shays called me. And this is before ASA or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Huh?
And I got asked to go and do the NIS series in '94, so which was pretty cool. That was incredible. So yeah.
So you came back?
Yeah, I came back, and I still remember we get off, and that's when I met Tom Fry and Manuel Balearis. We flew over together. The three of us got invited from Australia to be in the thing, and we competed in like my first competition ever in America. I'd been in ones in Australia and done okay. And I'm up Chris Edwards, Arlo Eisenberg, Jess Darrenforth, like Eitan Kramer, like all the crazy, Mike Giacenti, all these big names from inline skating. And it's, who else was there? Scott Bentley, like all these legendary skaters.
Oh, God.
And, and that was it. Like, there you go. Go and skate against these guys. But, it was pretty cool.
How was it? How did you get, which position did you get? Do you remember?
You know what? I have no idea. Like, it was kind of a series. I was always in the top 10. I don't know. Between there was 6 competitions in a row, and I got between 4th to 10th, 8th. I was always in that.
So you were top 10 in all of them?
Yeah.
And then I guess you come back to Australia, and what happened? Probably it was, I think, under my opinion, it was like before you came to compete and then after, right? Talking about the sponsorship and all that, or not really?
Yeah, so I wasn't, again, at the end of '94, I had sponsors, but no monthly paying sponsor. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't getting paid a monthly salary. But getting dribs and drabs here, getting flown a few places and going on tours and stuff like that, and they'd pay you to go on tour, but they're not paying you a wage or anything. And then it was coming around to '95, and they were going to do another NIS series, and that's when X Games, the first year of X Games was coming. So I was like, Cesar told
me to say thank you because you were doing a street and you get injured, something like that. Explain it, please. Explain something about that history. That was in '95, right?
Yeah. So how it worked was I got invited over to the first X Games, and we were filming. It's actually in a video. I can't remember what the video is. We were filming a street section, and there was a kink rail. It went along and down kink rail, and it was the first time my father had ever seen me skate, like properly. I said, yeah, come up. It's near your house. We're riding this rail near your house. Come and have a look. We're filming. And I jump up and I split the rail and break my tailbones clean, like snap it clean under. And I'm rolling around on the ground in pain. And I get up, jump on it a few more times, finally make it for the video. And I land and my dad goes, you don't look so good. I'm like, oh, no. I mean, I couldn't sit down or anything. And I get driven to the hospital. And they're like, oh, you snapped your tailbone straight under, like clean under. We're going to have to straighten it. I'm like, ah. And anyway, I'm like going, oh, I'll be right. But X Games was in a couple of weeks, And so I thought that was the end of my career. I'm like, I've missed X Games. That's the big one. I've missed it. And anyway, I call Mark Shays and say, oh, look, I can't make it. I can't make it. And he said, oh, is there anyone else that's any good from Australia that can come? You know, we want to have an international field. Is there anyone else that would fit? And at that stage, Sessa was landing 900s, you know, doing, I don't know if he was doing 720s. Yeah, he would have been doing 720s for sure, actually, now I think about it. Wild, out of control, spinning, you know. He never wore a helmet. He was just this wild man that would skate and blast. And I said, you know what, this guy, he will do really well. Like, trust me, he'll kill it. And he said, oh, does he really land 900s? And I said, yep, he can land 900s. And anyway, they said, oh, who is it? And I said, oh, his name's Cessamora. He's a little bloke, but I'll tell you what, he goes huge. And sure enough, I gave him their number, and I don't know if he called them or they called him or I called Sessa, but they got in contact, and Sessa went over, and that was the start of Sessa International.
Yeah, he said to tell you a big thank you about that. And well, so you were injured. I can imagine your frustration, because that happened to me as well. And you see everyone going to X Games, everyone getting good time over there, and you were in Australia. So how is your comeback after the injury?
So yeah, honestly, I thought that was the end of my career. I was like, I'm never going to come back from this. I've missed the whole season of competition. And at the time, the competition was where all the guys that were getting sponsored and paid, that's where they were going at the time. You know, there wasn't a video scene or a magazine scene or anything like that. And Daily Bread had started the year before, but it wasn't, street skaters still weren't making, you know, their living from just doing the magazines and videos. Everyone had to compete in these competitions. And to tell you the truth, I could always skate in comps, but I always hated them. I always hated them. I always really nervous, super nervous, but could always do them somehow. I don't know. A few deep breaths.
Yeah. Well, I think it's normal, especially on those days that I think you guys had so much pressure. Yes. Because as you say, nowadays, I'm not saying that it's easier or harder, but nowadays you can make a video part, or you can promote yourself a little bit better on Instagram or Facebook. But back on that time, what you were doing on the contest is your value, right? It was your value. If you were doing good on contest. So I think you had so much pressure. Probably some of the people, and that's my guess, a lot of the old school people got a little bit mad with the industry or tired because of that pressure, right? How was your brain dealing with that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was very young, and it was very just exciting. But like I said, at that stage, I thought my career was over. And then so 96 came around, and I suppose getting back to your question, yeah, there was a lot of pressure. I mean, you're talking. Not back then, but a bit later on, $10,000 prize money. You know, so, and your sponsors saying, like, I was skating for K2, and at the end of K2, it was like, if you don't perform, you're out. You know, we'll get someone who is performing. You know, so it was kind of brutal back then to a point. But if we step back again to 96, so then 96 came around.
For sure.
And again, the guys from NIS or ASA, I think it had changed to ASA then, said, oh, are you coming back over? We want you back over. And I said, look, I've got no sponsor at the moment. You know, I can come over, but, you know, I need some help. And they said, oh, we've got this guy who owns a clothing company that wants to sponsor someone, and he will give you accommodation and flights to all the events if you promote his clothes. And I said, that's perfect. That's all I need. I'll get there. And I got that. And I competed, and I did pretty well. And I did X Games in 96. And I actually broke my arm in the competition, which sucked. And do you want me to tell that story? That's a funny one too, actually.
Yeah. As I said, we just talk and you explain whatever you want. And I'm going to be more than happy to hear.
So in X Games 96, the scene was pretty big. It was booming. You know, you had your set like on Vert. Well, both Vert and Street was booming. You know, you had Ryan Jacklin, Chris Edwards, Tom Fry, Emmanuel Balearis, you know, Renee Holgren. You had all these amazing people. Brooke Howard-Smith, heaps and heaps of people. And we're in the warm-ups, and I was actually skating all right. I was feeling all right. I liked the ramp. Had an escalator on it, which I liked. You know, you could grind up and down it, and people like Tom Fry was grinding up it, and a few people were. But I like that kind of thing, you know, a little bit different things on a vert ramp. And I fell off. I made the finals, and I fell over and I broke my wrist. And I go to the hospital, and I get my wrist plastered up. And about 3 hours later, I'm back for the finals. And they're like, "Oh, you're going to skate?" I said, "Yeah, I should be right. But I think it must have worn me out because I was absolutely exhausted. And I've come to go on the ramp, and I didn't, you know, an okay run. I was obviously pretty low in energy, like a top 10 maybe. And I come back off the ramp, go up the extension like this, but instead of landing and stalling on like this and coming back down, as I come back down, I'm drifting, and I drift off the top of the extension and land onto the flat bottom and break the plaster that I just had put on, smash it.
Wow.
I ended up going back to the hospital. And the doctor just goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I just competed and I've broken it." And they're just shaking their head going, "What are you? You're an idiot." And yeah, so that was my 96 X Games. It was kind of crazy.
Wow, that's awesome. So after X Games, you got back any sponsor, or you still just were skating for the clothing company? Or
so yeah, I was still skating. It was called Kink Clothing. I was still skating for this clothing company, and they were sending me to all the events. And we ended up in Switzerland, in Lausanne, in Switzerland. And it was a big. Well, you've been there. You know what it's like. Did you skate in Lausanne in the Switzerland comps? I can't remember.
Yeah, I skated in Lausanne. I think I competed on 96, 97 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, it was 96. I was skating there and doing okay, doing all right. And I finished skating. Can't remember. I had no idea what I got. I didn't place high. I wasn't like, you know, top 5 or anything. And Razors came up to me and said, "Would you like to skate for Razors?" Oxygen came up to me and said, "Would you like to skate for Oxygen?" And K2 came up to me and said, "Would you like to skate from K2?" And this was all in Switzerland, in Lausanne. And yeah, I was blown away. I didn't know what to do. I had 3 contracts in my hand, and I'm just going, "Oh wow, this is amazing." And yeah, it was wild. And then I called my girlfriend, and I called my mum and dad, and I said, "Look, I don't know what to do. I've got these 3 contracts." And they were literally like, "Sign with us now and we'll start." And so yeah, I ended up signing with K2 because I was really good friends with Andy Cruz and Tom Heiser and all those guys. And at the time, I was on flow for Oxygen, so it was a hard decision. I was, you know, traveling a little bit with Scott Bentley and TJ Weber and those guys from Oxygen, and Brooke Howard-Smith. You know, I was really good friends with Brooke. So it was a tough decision, but I went with K2, which ended up to probably be the best thing I could have done. So I got lucky.
Yeah, because how many years you have been in K2?
I rode from that day from Lausanne. I was on K2 through, and my contract finished in 2000.
2000 was the last year, huh?
Yeah.
So
96
or 97 to 2000, right? Something like
96, 97, 98, 99. And then 2000, I was on rollerblade. And then 2001, I was on rollerblade. And then that was the end. That's 10 years of skating professionally. So
great. And talking about going a little bit backwards about the 90s. So X Games was huge, I guess, on 96. But how was the NIS or the ASA on that time? How was those kind of tours?
You mean NIS versus ASA in like comparison? I had a bit of a funny career. Because I didn't like the competitions massively, I focused a lot on I did do the competitions and I did okay at them because that's what the sponsors wanted me to do. Because you get on television, and when you're on television, that's what the sponsors want. But I kind of juggled between doing a lot of skate shows and shooting a lot for video, a lot for magazines at the time, not for videos, but for magazines. So I shot tons for Daily Bread and did lots of skate shows for Vans, believe it or not. So I did a lot of that stuff. So I was juggling. I just worked. Like I just had my head down and worked. So I almost wasn't in the competition scene as much as guys like Sessa, who were just powerhouses. You know, they were laser focused on those competitions, and he subsequently did amazingly. You know, he focused just on vert and did phenomenally. You know, like had an amazing career. Whereas I tended to do everything. I like skating everything. I like skating street. You know, bowls are my favorite thing ever to skate, and I like skating vert too. But yeah, I sort of focused on everything. So I didn't just do the comp kind of thing.
So back in the day, you were competing on the park too. You were doing the street competition, the street park competition.
I did do some, yeah, but I didn't do them all the time. Because I joined, like I said before, I hated the competition.
Yeah, you hated the competition. Yeah.
So I figured if I just did vert, you know, I'll just stick to that. I did do street comps too, but I never did a lot of them. I only did a few, you know, like, yeah. Oh, Miguel's here. I just saw his name come up. Hey, Miguel.
Hey, Miguel. Oh, so good, so good. I really appreciate those times because, as I said, you know, for me as a young kid, you were my reference. Like Chris Edwards, Arlo, yourself, Mora, all these guys. So for me was amazing to see every year everything. You know, like even a small magazine, a small picture on a magazine for me was like a big thing, you know, because back in the day, once again, it's not like now, like we got the information right now, like we are talking and a lot of people around the world is watching, you know. Back in the day, when I got a picture of a magazine, probably was 6 or 8 months later, you know. So it's crazy, especially what I wanted to talk a little bit. That's why I was asking about the tours. Is the progression on those days was really fast. So how you lived the progression of the competitions? Not about yourself as a competitor, Like, so you went to the first stop of the Nice. I'm pretty sure was really different from the last stop of Nice. Or you say?
Yeah, completely different. So the first Nice that we did was in parking lots down at the beach. So there was 6 stops, you know, down California, and they were TV shows primarily. You know, and they had a few people in the crowd and, you know, that kind of thing. And then by the time I finished, X Games was huge stadiums that people buying, you know, paying a fortune to come and watch all of us skate. It was pretty crazy. Like, it was absolutely wild. I mean, I don't know if you have seen Tony Hawk's first 900 he ever did in competition.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
I've seen videos, but I wasn't there. There. That was in 99, right?
Yeah, I think so. I can tell you the truth, I don't know. I don't know when it was, but all I know was I was standing on the side of the ramp, and there was thousands and thousands of people like banging and chanting, and like it was wild, absolutely crazy. You know, like the first ones we did there was people watching, you know, just as they walked past with their ice cream. But by the end of it, it was a massive production, and it got even bigger. It's just a huge TV show now. So it's sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but it was it was pretty wild. Like I was pretty quiet kind of guy. I kind of kept to myself a little bit, but Sessa and I had always roomed together, and you know, we were pretty wild pretty quiet while everyone else was going off pretty out of hand. So
and how was to be K2 Pro on that time? Like, how was K2 taking care of you guys?
Oh man, we had the best team ever when we first started. It was Dave Ortega, Ryan Jacklone, myself, Tom Heiser. A bit later on, we had Matt Mance, and then a bit after that, we had Matt Solano, Sesamora, Eric Burke, like all these absolute legends. But the guy who made the whole thing so much fun, and his whole sort of vision was just comedy, just to have a bit of fun, was Matt Lacrosse and Tom Heiser. Those two together were our team managers, and it was nothing but it was just awesome. Like every time someone would win a competition from K2, we'd get taken out to beautiful Japanese restaurants, and like we were driving around in huge SUVs and, you know, getting paid reasonable money, and just, it was awesome. It was incredible. And just comedy. It was just funny, you know, people doing funny stuff. So.
Oh my God. The good old days. And then talking a little bit about tricks on halfpipe. What is the trick that you had more troubles with, but when you made it, you were really proud, or you are still really proud that's something that you have done on the big U?
You know what? The trick that I always had the most trouble with, which is pretty funny, is just the forwards 540. I worked so hard to land forwards 540. I couldn't do one now. I could do a 900 now, but I couldn't do a 540. Like,
really?
That was the trick. Yeah, that was the trick that I would, if I was throwing it in my run, I would be scared to throw it. Like, oh, here we go. I hope I make this. Whereas I could do a back-to-back 900 without even thinking about it. So
yeah, actually, you were doing a really beautiful fakie 9, a spell grab.
So in terms of being hard to learn that I really had to work at, just that, a forwards 540 was something that I really had to work at on vert. So, but in terms of the trick that I was probably most known for was like a fakie stale Japan 900, like properly grabbed one. So
if you, every time I think about your name, it's coming to my mind air to fakie, super beautiful air to fakie, and the fakie 9s. That was Scott Crawford for me, is, you know, the fakie 9, the beautiful fakie 9.
Yeah.
And well, how was and why the end of your pro career?
That was kind of crappy, to tell you the truth. I wasn't. What did I do? I was. Brooke Howard Smith was over here in Australia, and we were skating. He was just hanging out. We were skating, and we were riding a mini ramp, and I was just exhausted. You know, I've been skating for a couple of hours, just tired, and I just slipped over and put my hand down, and I hyperextended my elbow and broke my elbow.
Oh.
And then, you know, so I'm in a big cast, you know, like a big, I don't know what you call it, like a big cast thing. And I went, so I wasn't skating. I hadn't skated in like probably 4 weeks. And I went to America to compete. I was riding for rollerblade at the time, and I went to go into an X trial or something like that, you know, an X Games thing. This was in 2001, I think. And I skated terribly. Like, I still remember I was 16th, which for me, I'd never been out of the top 10 really, unless I fell over for some reason, you know, like. So for me, I did a run and I wasn't in the top 10, and that was terrible. I was really pissed off with myself. And anyway, I went to Fabiola. Fabiola's a good friend of mine. And Fabiola said, come and stay with me. We'll get you fit again. We'll get you, because I wasn't fit. I wasn't, you know, my timing was all out. I had a broken elbow, still had a cast on my arm. And she said, come and stay with me and we'll get fit. And the very first day we went to skate this vert ramp near her house. And I did a trick that I've done a million times, just an alley-oop porn star. I was okay at the run. That was one of my strengths. So I was just warming up and I thought, I'll just do a porn star. And as I've come to go back in, I clipped my toe and flipped 12 feet straight over, flipped to the very flat and landed on the back of my head and my shoulder and broke my shoulder. And my shoulder was just over here. So I was lying on the bottom. I had a broken elbow and a broken shoulder in America. And went to the hospital, flew home the next day with 2 breaks, one each side, and had another 6 weeks to get my shoulder better. And then I was like, I've got to go back to America because you're getting paid to be seen, you know, like that's sitting at home in Australia. I'm not getting paid to do that. So I flew myself back over to shoot a video with these guys. Can't remember what it was actually, but anyway, to shoot a video, and I get off the plane. So I was 14 hours on the plane, jet lagged as anything. We go street skating. The very first, literally, I haven't skated in 6 or 7 weeks because of my broken bones.
Mm-hmm.
We get to a 10 or 12 stair down ledge, really waxed. I was never liked wax that much, and this was really, really waxed ledge. And I've jumped up to do a backside shifty down this ledge, or backside royale, and I just looped out and landed, and I landed on my hand like really hard. And I've gone to get up, and my arm just like bent 45 degrees, sorry, the wrong way. So I just broke both, like this was just like over here sort of thing. And so I still had a broken elbow. I still had a brace on my elbow. My arm was facing the wrong way. Bo Coddington took me to hospital, and I had to have 2 surgeries on it, and all these big metal sticking on the outside of your arm, when they got to pin it from the outside. They did that, and I was lying in hospital just going, you know what, I've had enough. This is enough. And it wasn't because of the injuries. It was just mentally I just checked out.
Probably, I don't know what happened in your brain, but probably the injuries were coming because maybe you were already tired of traveling or whatever, no?
Yeah, I was. That's exactly right. I was sick. Like you'd know better than anyone. Living out of a suitcase, and I'm not complaining. Don't think I'm complaining. But it can be on your days. You're just like, why am I doing this? This is crazy. And I loved it, but it was work, and I didn't want to do it anymore. I'd had enough, and I wanted to get married, and I didn't want to travel while I was married. I didn't think that was fair on my wife. So that was it. I was lying in hospital just going, you know what? I think that's it. And I think I'm going to ask my girlfriend to marry me. And that was it.
Yeah. Well, it's a sad history for one part, but happy for another.
Oh, it's not sad, mate. It's everything comes to an end at some point, and I had a fantastic time, mate. There's nothing sad about it.
Oh, great that you see it like this. It's actually the good way to see, because one of the things that I have more admiration for you is that you are probably in your 40s and you are still skating. And not only that, you skate everything. I've seen you skating mini ramp. I've seen you skating a little bit of half pipe, street, doing video parts, going to Blading Cup and competing or having fun there. So I really respect you, because you are probably one of the I don't see many people from your generation still reaping it, and you are still reaping it. You are a living example of what is a rollerblader about. So I really have to say that I really respect you a lot for that. And explain, how is now your skating view, or what do you expect from skating, or why you skate, why you're still on the scene?
I really, it's the scene. You answered that question right there. It's the scene. If the scene wasn't here, and when I say scene, my friends within it and the relationships I had, like with yourself, for example, when we spoke at Blading Cup, almost 2 years ago, year and a half ago, that's the last time we spoke. But I've got friends all over the world like you that I can speak to because of this crazy thing called rollerblading. And it's the scene that draws you in. Like, obviously the tricks and the feeling and the fact that you can glide around on something and have total and utter freedom to express yourself in any way you seem fit. Like I've calmed down a lot. I don't do what I used to do, but I just love the fact that I can go out. Most of the times on a Wednesday or a Thursday, I meet up with Dom West. Not now with COVID, but before that, and we would ride a mini ramp, tiny little 6-foot mini ramp. We ride it for 2 hours. I enjoy having a beer, have a skate, have a chat, and you just go, and that's my release for the week. I got 3 kids and work and all that kind of stuff. So that's my release. And rollerblading now for me, I suppose that's, how do I see it? Rollerblading is my way of expressing myself. It's my release.
Well, that's so beautiful. But what I think is the final thing because sometimes we forget why we skate or why we started. We started, at least I can say for myself, I started because I love it. At some point, it became my work, but sometimes it's hard to keep doing your thing when it's your work. I mean, how can I explain this? You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes
I know
because
exactly what you're saying.
yeah, you understand, right? So it's really nice
100%.
that go ahead, go ahead.
No, I agree with you 100%. Like for me, at the end of my skating career, it was work, and it was hard work. Like, and when I stopped skating, I didn't skate for a while. You know, I just stopped and I focused on different things. But now, to me, like I'm like a little kid. I'm like I am when I was 16, and I'm 44. I'm nearly 45 years old, and
Wow.
and I dream about it, and I think of tricks on rails. Like just last night, I have a WhatsApp group, you know, with TN and the Vine Street guys, you know, Dom.
Yeah.
I have a WhatsApp group with those guys, and I'm at work, and I saw this handrail, and I'm like, oh, look at this thing, you know, like taking photos of it and sending it to everyone. We're gonna go ride this, you know, like freaking out like I did when I was 16, 17. So I think as a skater, you never lose that. You know, you look around and you're like, oh yeah, look at that. When you see it in a different way, like a bit of a creative way, you know, like I could roll off that and then I could jump onto that rail, and then, you know, if it all goes well, I could transfer over to that, you know. And I can't do any of that, but you see it, you know, you see it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a true love. You still have that passion inside of you, and this is amazing. This is amazing because first of all, for you, I think if you are having fun, that makes your life happier. But also for the new generations, it's really. I always think, or I always say that it's really important that people like you are still on the scene. You know, people like. For me, you were my reference. All you guys were my reference. So it's really important to keep our roots alive, and you are representing the roots. So thank you so much for keep blading and keep trying to be with us. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I get embarrassed about my skating, and I always have. Even when I was at the highest level, I would watch myself skate, and I'd go, I hate that. You know, I want to skate like this, or I want to change that, or I want to change that. And I still have that. I still see myself skate, and some of the stuff I've done with Dom, I'm just like, I should have done that, or I could have added to that. But I think that's what keeps me going, because I'm not 100% happy with what I'm doing, even though it might feel good, and then I see it and I go, no, I want to change this. And that's what that sort of in-ground kind of, in Australia, we call it like a mongrel, like hard to explain, like in-ground kind of fire, you know, inside you. Like, no, that's not right. I've got to do it better.
I absolutely understand, because I have the same.
Yeah. So I think that's what keeps me going.
That's amazing. And I have one question about that now you talk. Back in the day, sometimes, for example, I remember that we were doing a lot of tours on skate parks and all that. Did you feel pressure to skate with people? Like, because sometimes I can relate to myself a little bit. Maybe you had the same. Sometimes I was with rollerblade doing a tour, and they bring me to some skate park, and I really wanted to skate. The skate park was fun. It looked really good. But I wasn't skating because I wanted to have fun. I didn't want to put a show on. You know what I'm saying? Did that happen to you? Did that happen to you?
All the time. All the time. Like, all the time. That happened everywhere I go. Like, you'd get off a plane, you know, like flying from New York to wherever, Belgium. I still remember this, in Belgium. And exhausted, you know, you're jet lagged, you're tired. You get to a skate park, but that's when you've got to realize, like, these kids are so excited that you're there, and you can barely walk, you know, you're stuffed. And you go up and you do a backside grind, and the local, like, you know, the local kid from the park who's the guy comes along and does a backside grind right behind you. You know, like, see, I can do that too, you know? And you're like, yep, here it is. So I completely understand that. And back in the day, it was way, way worse. Whereas now it's a bit more relaxed, you know, like it's not so bad. But yeah, back then it was just brutal. Like, everywhere you went was a battle. You would battle and you would have to prove yourself. And there was always one thing, like, you know, you'd get a guy that would do it, you know, like a true Elliott fish to something else. And I could never do that. And I'm like, well, okay, but I'm going to go over here and I'm going to launch off that and I'm going to spin and I'm going to land over there. And then they'd all go, oh, okay. I understand.
But yeah, it was crazy that time. I remember I had some situation like that sometimes. And it was kind of sad because I've seen the ramps, I've seen the skater like, oh my God, they want to do that. But then it's like, but I just want to have fun, you know?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I wasn't skating because I didn't want to put that pressure on myself. So I missed some sessions just because of that pressure, you know?
Yeah. Well, how's this for a story? Again, just got to Japan. You know, we arrive at a skate park, and Sessa was actually there for that. I don't know if he's still on. I saw his name before, but Sessa was there, and there was a launch box, you know, like a normal launch box with a rail down it, and you go along. You know, I was going along and jumping on the rail and just doing a soul grind. That's all. You know, just warming up. And there was a magazine there, a Japanese magazine, and they're taking photos, and they're trying to, in their polite way, say, "Oh, can you do anything harder, you know, on the rail than a soul grind?" I'm just like, oh. But again, that, like I said, that fire, or like we say in Australia, the mongrel inside me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the exact same trick, but instead of rolling along the deck and jumping, I launched the launch box, you know, I don't know, 8-foot, 10-foot launch box, and landed soul on the rail. And I was just like, oh, okay. You know, like they still got a picture of the soul, but they were like, okay, yeah, right, yeah. I get it.
Yeah, that's amazing that we live that part. Well, you for sure, you more than me, but I live that part of the excitement of the kids on the skate park waiting for you, and you know, it was good. It was good times. And then I got another question talking about the kids. So now it looks that some kids, it looks that there's a new generation coming up, at least in Europe. So what is your advice, or will you say a new kid that is starting to skate, and I don't know, he's a little bit lost about what to do
in terms of trying to make something of his career, kind of thing?
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I don't really know. I mean, all I didn't do anything out of the ordinary, but I worked hard. Like, I worked hard and took every chance that I had. I absolutely grabbed hold of, and I didn't let go. Like, you know, if I was going to America to go in a competition, I wasn't going there just to see my mates and muck around, you know, like I would go there to enjoy myself, but the thing that I was going there to do, I did first, and then I enjoyed myself second. So, for example, you know, Ultimate Inline Challenge or something, you get $40,000 if you win that thing in Australia, it was, or maybe even more. So I'm not there getting absolutely hammered, drinking and partying like a wild man before the competition. Like, there's no way in the world. I was there and I would do what I had to do. And then after that, you know, shoulders come down, go and have a beer with my friends and relax. But I always was focused on what I needed to do first. So, you know, if you're trying to make a career, I guess, out of something, you've got to look at what your final goal is and then set steps to that goal. So, you know, my final goal is whatever it might be, being a professional rollerblader in this, you know, in this field, in street skating. How am I going to do that? How am I going to get there? And you break it down into little steps like, okay, well, I'm going to make a video.
1 second, Scott. Instagram just allowed to do 1 hour live. So it's going to finish this live. I'm going to invite you again if you have time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this is going to finish. I'm going to finish it right now because it's 30 seconds away to finish. And then I'm going to start again. So we'll do the same. Okay?
Cool. Yeah.
All right. See you in 1 minute.
See you, mate.